Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to this episode of the podcast. I've got a cracker for you today, something that was born out of a run that I did last week. And I was running up quite a steep hill towards the end of my run. And I started to use the self-talk, or as we're going to actually learn what it is, it's actually a cognitive appraisal. And I started to say to myself, I'm struggling, right? Now think about that sentence right there and how that makes you feel when you hear it, or you might say it to yourself, I'm struggling. And immediately I was able, and I don't know where this came from, it wasn't something I consciously did, but the next voice that came in my head, the next sound was, this is what you came for, keep going, Meso. And immediately I felt better. I came back into the moment and I just focused on putting the left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And I counted my way up that hill. And I got to the top of the hill and I didn't feel great. Like I still felt pretty rubbish. But I was so pumped that I was able to overcome that inner voice that wanted to take me out and wanted to make me walk and wanted to start a downward spiral. And I thought, how can I share this in a positive way with all of you and also get some science behind this to find out what exactly went on in that moment and how can we leverage that in your running and I guess in your life as well. So that's what today's all about. Before we get started, a few things from me. I've had a few people get in contact with me. Thank you to find out how my running's going. I've been out most of the year with a patella, that's a good little mix of words, patella tendinopathy, which has taken me out of running pretty much since late January, early February. So the good news is I've managed to string together a good few weeks of training now. I'm running every other day and in the gym doing the work, and it's going fantastically. I really want to do a race before the end of the year. I haven't quite decided exactly what that race will be. So I'm just taking it week by week at the moment. And oh, I tell you what, it's been so good to be back running again. And for those of you who are currently going through injury or coming back from injury, or I feel where you're at, and I know what it's like. And um, yeah, it's tough, and a lot of it affects a lot of your life, right? And that's the structure that running gives our life is sometimes understated, and sometimes you don't actually know how good running is for the rest of your life until it's taken away from you. So, but keep that mindset that this is temporary. Recovery is my sport now. I'm going to come back wiser, stronger, faster, if you like, and a better athlete. And this injury was, even though it sucks, it's here to teach me something that I can learn from to become a more durable and wise athlete going forward. All right, so yeah, I'm thinking of all those you out there, and there is a door on the other side of that dark room. Eventually, just take your time. And for me, it's been like almost an 8 month journey this year, where I think I told you last time my average mileage was around 17 and a half kilometers per week. So everyone listening in the US is around 10 miles a week. This is someone who normally runs 70 Ks a week as my base load and somewhere between 120, 150 in my peak weeks. So I'm gradually easing back to it. I'm up to about 80 Ks a week now and loving it being back. So thanks to everyone checking in. Something else happened this week. If you don't know, I'm exactly halfway through a psychology degree at University of Charles. I was Charles taught University, and I was lucky enough to receive the Executive Dean's Award this week, and I didn't actually know what it was when it arrived, but basically, I was able to achieve high distinctions in each of my subjects for the semester, and I got recognized through getting the Dean's Award, which is pretty exciting because it's my first time I've ever been at university, and I've put a lot of effort into it. And um, I had this weird belief, and if you're ever examining your beliefs, one of my beliefs is wasn't smart enough to go to university. I don't really know where it came from because I could find plenty of evidence against it. But this is how beliefs work. They get lodged in your subconscious and you don't really think about them. They just kind of drive your life in the background. And so last year when I decided to do psych, I decided to challenge that belief. And here I am, yeah, getting a award for study. So there you go. That's something that's happening with me lately. Okay, this episode is really, really going to help you reframe the thoughts that you have and the language that you're using to, and let's get stuck in it now because enough beating around the bush. Everything we do in mindset for runners is about lowering our rate of perceived exertion and increasing our motivation as we run. So think about all the self-talk, the visualization, um, all of the belief work we do, the identity work, all of the goal-setting structures that we teach in the course. All of our mindset stuff is to help you lower your rate of perceived exertion. Now that's measured on a thing called the Borg scale, which goes from 1 to 10. One's like super easy, 0 is rest, and 10 is like your hardest maximum um, effort. And so why am I introducing this now? The topic we're about to go into, reframing your thoughts and your thinking as you're running, is all based on how do we reduce our rate of perceived exertion. And one of the fastest ways you can do that is through reframing, which we're about to do. Um, Before we get right into the weeds today and then the practical side of it afterwards, we need to do a little bit of refreshing of our brain anatomy and understanding what's going on when we're actually reframing. So here's the big picture. We're going to talk about reframing thoughts as we're running to help you enjoy your running, to lower that rate of perceived exertion, to increase your motivation, and to basically make you feel better as you're running and getting out of future thought, getting out of downward spirals and getting back to doing what you're doing in the moment, right? So we're going to be doing explaining the brain anatomy. We're going to go through this research study, which I found, which is fascinating. And the researchers actually call for further studies because what they found is pretty impressive. So we'll go through that. And I'm going to give you a whole bunch of reframing techniques that you can use today on your run, tomorrow on your run, whenever. And I really want you, the challenge will be pick 1 or 2 of these reframes and use them throughout the next week or so of your training and measure how they're making you feel as you use this and feel the empowerment that comes with these statements. All right. So with all of that, what on earth is reframing? We have to start to define what reframing actually is. So reframing is changing your perception of an event. Now, there's 2 main ways you can do this. There's context reframe and a meaning reframe. We're going to put that to the side. And we're just going to understand that when you reframe something, you are seeing it from a different perspective than you currently are. So much of our thinking is limited by our past experiences and our values, our beliefs, all that kind of stuff. But it's mainly the story that we're telling ourselves about what's happening, and we get stuck in this, if you like, paradigm of thinking. And so reframing is shifting your perspective to see something from a different angle. I'm reminded of a story in Stephen Covey's seminal work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in that, he tells a story of being on a subway train in New York on a very quiet Sunday morning. And he says, I'm sure it was completely different than the raucous Saturday night only a few hours early. And he's on the subway train and everything's very quiet. Everyone's just cruising on a Sunday morning. The door opens, in comes a father with his 3 kids. And the kids are running amok, running over, jumping on seats, yelling at each other, going crazy in this quiet train. And the father is sitting there doing nothing, not correcting them, not telling them to pull their head in, not telling them to sit down and be respectful for the other passengers. And then, Stephen Covey's getting quite agitated about this because it's putting all the other passengers off their day. And these kids are just going crazy. So he actually says to the father, really respectfully, oh, excuse me, sir, would you mind saying something to your kids? Because, like they're kind of disrupting this Sunday morning, this quietness. And he said the father slowly looked him in the eyes, like looked up from looking at the ground. He goes, oh yeah, look, I'm really sorry. We've just come from the hospital and their mother died. And I just don't really know what to do. And I wonder if your perception of that event just changed instantly when you heard more information or you saw it from the father's perspective instead of from Stephen Covey's perspective of annoying children versus kids who have just lost their mother and don't know what to do. So that's an example of a reframe by seeing information from a different perspective. So I hope you get it. And we can control this because so much what we're going to do today is taking back control, or what we call agency, for your language and owning it instead of attributing it to outside influences that you can't control. All right, cool. Now, having defined reframes, we need to go back to Professor Steven Peters' work from the book, The Chimp Paradox, right? So we need to understand these three parts of the brain. Stay with me if you're not into neuroscience. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can. So Professor Steven Peters from the UK works with world-class athletes, Olympians, all that kind of stuff. He's written all these books. I'm going to simplify, forgive me, Dr. Peters, his model down into the three areas of the brain we need to know about to understand reframing. So they are the chimp, the human, and the computer. Right, so think about these three things, right? The chimp, let's start with the chimp. The chimp refers to your limbic system, the lower part of the brain that is basically operating on emotion, impulsivity, and survival, right? So this is the part of our brain that that looks after our body regulations and all that, but also scans for danger and acts impulsively as if our life is at threat. This is the part of your brain that when you're running up that hill or you're tired at the 35K mark of your marathon or the 4K mark of your 5K, this is the part of your brain that's telling you, let's stop this, you don't have to do this, and it starts to come up with stories and reasons of why you should stop. Right, that's the chimp. The human is the prefrontal cortex. That's part of your brain, the thinking cap that sits over the top. The prefrontal cortex is our executive function. It's our thinking cap. It's where we actually plan, manage, can see different situations in different ways. But this is the part of our brain that we want to spend more time in as we are running and going through life. It's where we can understand what's happening, get further information, make good decisions, logical decisions, and not be at the whim of our chimp, which just wants to make emotional, irrational decisions and the spur of the moment as quickly as we can to maximize survival and basically minimize growth and learning and uncomfortable stuff. The computer, this is a separate part of our brain, and both the chimp and the human have access to the computer. The computer runs all of your habits, the functions. So you don't have to think about how to run every time you go running, right? The computer has learned how to run, and it helps you run because it knows the pattern of running, right? So it's all your habits, it's all of your memories are stored in your computer, and your chimp and your human can, for example, go and get a memory out of the computer and use it to reinforce their case. So the human can say, you've run up a hill like this before, Rob, and you've done plenty of hills, and you're going to be okay. Yes, it hurts, but here's all these memories of where you've done it before, and I'm sure you're going to be okay if you just focus in the step you're in and don't get ahead of yourself. Right? That's how the human can use the computer. The chimp, on the other hand, can say, this is horrible. Your heart rate's through the roof. I remember that time you quit, and you know what? You can stop now because you can just walk. Just walk this. Look how far ahead you've got to go. What are you doing? We've got to preserve the body. Just stop. Let's get out of here and just walk. Right? And they can use the computer to its advantage as well. So why do we need understand these three things? We need to understand that when we use reframing, we are putting ourselves out of the chimp brain and into the prefrontal cortex, so into the human brain. And the power of that means we take back control of our decision making, and we don't go on a downward spiral initiated by our chimp that just wants us to quit, stay safe, watch Netflix, and do nothing, right? Basically just survive. So that's our intro and our recap on the three states. I could probably do another full episode on that, the three parts of the brain. That could be a future one we do. Now, for all of you out there thinking, but we don't want to just keep thinking as we're running, Rob. It's exactly right. Our ideal preferred running state is what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the Hungarian psychologist, called the flow state, right? And yes, I just horribly butchered his name. I'm very sorry, Professor Csikszentmihalyi. So the flow state, what is the flow state? It's the state, it's like a magical state where your actions kind of dissolve into the environment around you. You're not thinking, you're on autopilot of the highest function. You are reaching your potential in whatever activity you're doing without overthinking. It's like it's naturally occurring somewhere near the edge of your capacity. So it's not boring and it's not overstimulating and too hard. You are somewhere towards the top of your capacity, and you're in the flow state. So think about a time when you've been running, maybe, and for me, it's running down a technical downhill, not a huge gradient, just a gentle downhill where I am 100% focused on the trail and I just seem to be gliding. My foot is just finding the right spot to go. I feel like I'm relaxed. I'm not thinking. Instead, I've just kind of dissolved into the environment around me and I'm part of the environment. And that's that flow state. It's very fleeting. And sometimes you might not experience it for years, or you might only have one or two experiences that you can remember you've actually achieved this. And so often we get in this state and then we say, I'm in the flow state. And that's when you lose the flow state because you started thinking again. So that's the optimum state. Now, how do we get into this state? Well, there's a lot of different gateways to it. You can't force it. So the top psychs say flow follows focus. And the focus is when we're focusing on the task that we are doing and not getting into our head thinking about what's happening in the future or how far I've got to go, what the next checkpoint is, what nutrition do I need, what pace do I need. It's none of that. It's almost mindful running where we're listening to the birds, we're feeling the air on our skin, and we just seem to be, and there's that word, flowing. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about now. So if we look at it as a hierarchy, we really want to be in that flow state as often as we can. But then the next state down we want to be in is in our prefrontal cortex, where we are actually controlling our thought. The state we don't want to be in is the chimp brain, that emotional brain. Yes, you can use your chimp sometimes. For example, if someone passes you right at the end of the race and you want to use your emotion to say, there's no way that person's beating me, and you go for it, right? That's your chimp getting a little bit of revenge on someone who's just taken over them. But normally this chimp is that emotional, reactive part of you, and we want to avoid giving that chimp any control. Right, so I've got a whole bunch of notes here, so I'm flicking through them as I go. So with that, yes, we want to stay out of our prefrontal, yes, we want to stay into flow state and out of our thinking state as much as we can, but these are states we're hopefully going to bounce between and stay out of our chimp. You will go into your chimp when you're running, and the more times you can get yourself out of that through problem-focused coping strategies and through emotional focused coping strategies, which we'll cover in other podcasts, we can stay out of our chimp and stop ourselves, letting ourselves off the hook to maximize our potential. Right, let's get into this study. This study that I found, which indicates the interaction between reframing, which we're going to go into, and parts of our brain, is called Cognitive Reappraisal Reduces Perceived Exertion During Endurance Exercise. 2018, published in publication Motivation and Emotion. Lead author Giles et al. Right, let's go into the study. So what they did, they took 24 endurance runners at a university and they stuck them on a treadmill for 90 minutes at 75% to 85% of their maximum heart rate. So that was kind of the effort. They did this 3 times with the whole group. There was no control group and a test group in this one. There was the same group doing it 3 different times. How did they control it? The first time they got no instruction. Here's your treadmill, 90 minutes, go run at 75 to 85%. They had a heart rate monitor on them and this functional brain imaging device, which basically measured where the blood was flowing around their head. So the first 90-minute treadmill session, they just measured their heart rate and the distance that they ran. The next week, the same group of 24 came back and they gave them reappraisal strategies, which is reframing. They didn't say the specific sentences they told them, but what they actually said to them was, imagine you're a scientist observing your rate of perceived exertion and the thoughts that you're saying to yourself as you're on the treadmill. So what they were trying to do was get them away from immersion in the thoughts and the emotions and imagine them observing them, right? So that's how they did it. And so what does a scientist do? They're objective. They're looking at things from different angles to see what's happening to try and understand it. And so that's what they did with these people. Said, as you're going through it and starting to get hard, imagine you're a scientist observing your emotion and how could you talk to yourself to change the emotion or the thinking. Hope that makes sense, right? The third time they did it, they gave them a distraction strategy, and it was really weird. They said to them, "Can you imagine you're in an office supplies shop as you're running, and you're just looking at the different types of, forgive me if you hear my dog barking. Dog's inside today. You can hear the different office supplies, pens, papers, calendars, desks, all that kind of stuff." Or they said to them, imagine you're walking around the college campus and you can see the different buildings. So recap, first one, just run on the treadmill, 90 minutes, 75, 85%. Second one was the intervention strategy. Imagine you're a scientist observing yourself and just reappraising what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And the third one was dissociation. Imagine you're in the office supply shop or on campus. Okay, that's the study, how they did it. Now, what did they find? This is the fascinating thing. The heart rate did not change across the three different workouts. The distance did not change across the three workouts at all. What changed was the parts of the brain that were getting the blood flow. Now, in the first non-control one, all of the blood flow to the brain, correction, a majority of the blood flow to the brain was going to the chimp. In the second one, the blood flow was incredibly increased to the prefrontal cortex, the human brain. And the third one, there was no real observation of where the actual blood went. So it was just a neutral, like normal blood flow around the brain. But they could observe in that first one, it was concentrated in the lower part of the brainstem, the limbic system, the chimp brain. But reappraising the thoughts as a scientist took the blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. Going back to Dr. Steven Peters' model, they were able to scientifically measure how reframing can take you out of your chimp brain and into your human brain. And that's why the researchers called for further investigation into this using more sophisticated imaging, brain scanning. Wow. Maybe you're like, oh, that's fantastic, Rob. I don't care. Just give me some reframes. Let's move on. But I just really want to pause and say the importance of being able to measure that mindset stuff that we teach on this podcast, in our course and community. It's not just fluff. It's actually changing something in your brain. And that's why when I'm running up a hill and I tell myself I'm struggling, my blood flows in the chimp brain. And when I say to myself, this is what you came for, keep going, Mesa, it shifts it to a different part of my brain that says, I'm training for this higher purpose. I'm here to hurt. I'm here to push my edge. I'm not here to quit when it gets hard. That's what the chimp does. And so when we change the way we think, we change the area of the brain that lights up with blood flow and electrical activity. All right, cool. So let's get into the reframes you can use. I've got a whole bunch of reframes. So what I want you to do is listen to them as I'm saying them. Try them on. Is that something that you can hear yourself saying to yourself or something that's not really for you? So try and pick one or two or three that stand out and capture them and use them on your next run. And if you're running now, even perfect. You can, even more perfect. You'll be able to try them as you go. So yeah, it's kind of like a mental first aid kit, if you like. The thought comes and then you can deploy a reframe straight away. Let's get stuck into it. One of the key ones, you might actually see this or hear this in sports psychs, and sometimes influencers use this. I've seen one use it on Instagram lately, which kind of made me laugh. The reframe is, instead of I have to do something, it's I get to do something. Now, this is a very powerful reframe. And why does it work? Well, in linguistics, there's a bunch of what's called modal operators in a sentence. And modal operators of necessity are a specific bunch of those operators. So modal operators of necessities are have to, need to, must, should, got to, ought to. These pressure words that imply we don't have a choice, that's outside of our control. So I have to go for my long run this Sunday. I'm dreading it, right? That implies coach or program or somebody has told you Sunday morning you're going to have to do your long, there's my language, have to do long run. And for you, it's like, oh, I have to do this or I've got to do this. So I can't go out Saturday night and I blah, 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 right? So the way you're perceiving the event is I have to do something maybe that I don't want to do, right? So the reframe is I get to do a long run on Sunday. Now try this on with I have to go to work, I get to go to work. I have to look after my family, I get to look after my family. I am pretty sure if you actually tried it on, you'll instantly feel a shift, just like Stephen Covey felt on that subway. Whereas some people don't get to go for a long run on a Sunday, but I do, right? How lucky am I, right? And it implies that you're choosing it instead of something being forced on you. The next one I'm going to share with you is I can't. Again, I can't implies a modal operator of impossibility, implies that it's something you can't do. It's out of my control. Let's take the control back of our language and say, and here we go, this one could hurt, I won't, right? So I can't run up that hill. Well, what you're actually saying, if you want to try this on, again, it might not be for you, it might be a bit confronting, I won't run up this hill. As soon as you say I won't, it's implied that you have a choice, right? I can't eat healthy food, right? I won't eat healthy food. I can't, you insert it, yeah, try your own one here. Why are we doing it? It's empowering yourself to take back control of your language and take that agency for the choices you're making. Oh, okay. So I'm going to get into a whole bunch of statements that you can use as you're running, and let's get straight into it. No more talking. All right. I must hit this pace today. Right? Must. So here the modal operator of necessity. Must. It implies pressure. It implies no choice. Has to be done. We're going to reframe that to I'm practicing my pace today. Today is practice. I'm learning pace, right? And if you look at that from a scientist perspective, it's really unlikely you're going to be able to hold the exact pace. Let's say you've been told to run at, let's say 4-minute 30 kilometers for the kilometer, or 5-minute 30 for the kilometer. It's like the old analogy that the aeroplane's only ever on course for a small percentage of the time because the autopilot's always adjusting the course. Same as you with your pacing. And so we can sometimes get so caught up on our pacing that we're looking at our watch so often and we feel that pressure. And so if we can reframe and take back to I'm practicing my pacing today. Let's say coach has given you a 4-minute 30 target for your kilometer repeats. Then you're saying I'm practicing it. And that implies you don't have to be perfect. You're looking to learn more about your pacing. And when you finish your workout and look back over it, you either have gone too fast, nailed it, or gone too slow. And all of those things are feedback for next time. So that's the way that this reframe works. Instead of I must, it's like I'm learning today. I'm practicing today. All right, let's keep on going with the reframes. I should be faster. I love this one. I've heard this a lot. I should be faster. I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm not fast enough yet, right? So you can add a yet onto any sentence to change the pressure off it. Right? And what I mean by that is I'm not good enough yet. I'm not fast enough yet, right? I hope that makes sense. So instead of I should be faster, think about I'm building consistency and progress, right? Speed will take time and it's something I'm going to work at for a long time. I'm stacking the bricks in the wall. I'm stacking these good days, day after day. So again, what we're doing, taking the pressure off the performance and putting it onto the process. I can't fit training in, right? So I can't. There's another one of those impossibility modal operators. So we're going to go to I choose. I choose what I prioritize in my life. And this week I choose this workout because it's important, right? Again, I can't versus I won't. You're taking back agency and you're getting away from obligation to choice. I hope you follow me and it's not too much of a data dump. I'm going to keep on going because I've got so many that you can use. Right, when we go to fatigue and discomfort reframes, let's take the first one. I'm exhausted, right? So that's a very definitive statement, right? If you look at it, it's something we might say to ourselves without thinking what we're actually saying is exhausted is a statement that means I've got nothing left, like I'm done ski, right? And so what we've done is handed over our power. I've got no choice. I'm exhausted. I'm about to give up. I'm going to start with 2 overarching words you can use anytime you're feeling fatigue, discomfort, or your pace is off and your execution's off. The first one is it's okay, right? It's okay. So it sounds like I'm exhausted. It's okay, right? So So that's a soothing mechanism for your chimp because your chimp's like, "Ah, we're going to die here. I can't maintain this." And you're trying to soothe your chimp. It's okay, chimp. I know what I'm doing, right? The second one comes from Jocko Willink, incredible leader and author of so many great books, including Extreme Ownership, The Economy of Leadership, The Code, all these great books. His response to anything going not the way that you think it should go is good, right? So I'm exhausted. Good. That's what I came for. Do you feel the power of, instead of exhausted, taking away all your power and being, um, out of your control? It's like, it's okay to be exhausted. Good, I'm exhausted. That's what training's for. It's about stress and adaptation. Right now I'm stressing and I'm going to adapt later on, right? Let's keep going. I'm hitting the wall, right? So hitting the wall, again, think about that statement. It's like, bang, I've hit a wall, and I'm assuming the wall is a brick wall or something hard that you can't run through. You basically like saying to yourself, I'm done. I've just hit this wall. It's curtains for me now. But instead of that, let's change the wall. It's an edge, right? I'm on the edge. Let's explore how far I can go, right? So my edge is something that I'm always looking to just push just that little bit further. And the more time you spend at your edge, the more chance you've got to go, okay, this is what it feels like. I'm just going to see if I can go a little bit further today and just expand my boundaries and my thinking. So next time you say I'm hitting the wall or that kind of thing, just think, okay, I am right, I'm pushing, I'm redlining. Let's just see if I can hold this for a few more seconds, right? Okay, my legs are dead. In the 2010 phenomenal documentary, Unbreakable. I'm just trying to think of JB Benner. Yeah, he did the documentary Unbreakable, Western States 2010, followed Killian Jornet, Anton Kripicka, Jeff Rose, and Hal Kerner, as the four best runners in the world, went to Western States at the same time. In that documentary, highly recommended. Jeff Rose is climbing, I think it's El Dorado, don't quote me on that. And the camera's on him and he says, I just can't run up hills today. Oh, right. So there's a statement. Now he says it in quite a high tone, like almost like, what's going on? But he uses that statement, I just can't run up hills today. I think he was in third place, fourth place at the time. And later on, we hear him reframe that in a different statement. And the statement that he uses in that movie is, I'm stabilizing. Boom. Take that one in your next run, right? So instead of saying, I can't run up hills, my leg's dead, I'm hitting the wall, Jeff reframed that to, I'm stabilizing, right? Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm not getting any worse here. So basically, I've hit the bottom. There's only one way from here. And the rest is history. He went on to win that and break the record in 2010. So could he have gone a downward spiral? Yeah, absolutely. I can't run up hills today. Pull out the next aid station. I'm a pro athlete. I'm going to go to the next race and have a story that legs are dead, wasn't my race. Instead, he turned it around. I'm stabilizing. Let's keep on going. All right, cool. Let's move on to some pacing stuff. I've gone out too hard, right? I've blown up. How many times have you said that? So when you hear that or feel that, let's just go to take back control. It's okay. I've gone out too hard. Good. I've gone out too hard. Now I'm going to adjust and finish strong. The new plan is to settle in this pace for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then reassess, right? You just took back, you went from chimp brain to human brain. Okay, I'm losing time. Ouch, this one's hard. Say you're doing like a timed race, or you're looking to hit a goal at a certain marathon time, or you're doing 24-hour time, 12-hour track, 6-hour track, and you're slipping behind those splits, right? And then you say something horrible to yourself like, I'm losing time. And so how do we reframe I'm losing time? What you're doing is you're comparing where you are to a benchmark of where you say you should be, or the pacing plan says you should be. And then you're getting into the future and saying, if I'm behind here, I'm going to drop further behind. And the story goes on and on and on. So what we need to do is get you out of the future, back into the step, and reassess your pacing and what you're doing. And there's a few ways you can do this, but you can say something like, I'm just going to run this step, this lap, and reassess, or I'm going to put the steady miles in the bank now, and then later on, I'll reassess. This can also be, just to throw this at you, this could also be a fueling thing. Maybe you need something to eat, or maybe you need to change something that you're doing. For example, your hat, your shirt, something like that can always do something. But to just think about, how do you grab onto that statement, see it from a different perspective, and put something empowering in there. All right, let's go to some identity stuff or self-talk. Okay, so I can't do this. You can just deploy that I won't do this. You can say I can't do this yet. I can't do this right now, but let me try the next step. And if it's I can't, I'm hitting the wall, I'm done, those kinds of things. Again, you can go to, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop now. I'm going to just focus on the next 5 minutes. I'm just going to run smooth. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to forget about all of the goals, all of the things that I've got set up, my pacing, my structure, all the things that I've said I should do. And I'm just going to run for the next 5 minutes. Okay, there's a little reframe there. Oh, this one here. This is a big one that I've shared in the podcast before that really helped me. I'm not a fast runner. Now, I'm not sure if you remember what I reframed that to, but it was, I love running fast. Let's have a look at the power in this. Shout out to Pete Shaw from scaryandexciting.com, who teaches NLP, taught me NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. If you want to learn more about these reframes, they come from a skill set called neuro-linguistic programming. Pete Shaw is the best instructor. Go check him out, scaryandexciting.com. I'm not fast. Let's look at that statement. So according to who, compared to who, what's your definition of fast, right? But it has that internal feeling, hires my rate of perceived exertion. I have to work harder than everyone else to maintain this pace. And it lowers my motivation. I'm not fast, which means blah, blah, blah. I can't do all the things I wanted to do. Now, I shifted that in this NLP course with Pete to I love running fast. Wow. Now, think about that statement. I love running fast. It was taking back my power and fast for me, not fast compared to this person or this pace or that course record. It was back to enjoying the feeling of going fast. Now that reframe changed so many things for me, including I started to run PRs, whatever you want to call them, at all distances in the following weeks and months after that. Because I would just run saying, I love this. I love running fast. And compare that to, I'm not as fast as, or I'm not fast. There's one here, I'm weak, right? So I don't know if anyone actually says this to themselves, but maybe you do. So that's why I put it in, I'm weak. So instead of I'm weak, say I'm learning where my limit is, or I'm curious about where my limit is. This comes from the work of Jerry Colonna, who wrote a great book called Reboot, and he's got a podcast also by the same name. But he's really looking to ask good questions into where your limits are and where your identity story is. And so if you're saying something like I'm weak, and you reframe it to I'm just exploring what I'm capable of, or I'm exploring my limits, then once again, you've taken back control and you're like, I want to be stronger. And so I'm exploring where my limit is so I can once again push that edge a bit further. All right, I hope you're still with me. I'm going through a few ones here. Let's look at performance, maybe a bit of pressure and fear. I'm nervous about racing. Let's shift nerves. Let's shift the word nervous to excitement, right? So instead of I'm nervous about racing, I'm excited to test my training. Think about that. You've moved the focus of your mind off nerves racing to excited testing my training, right? And also you can also use this is a test, not a verdict. Ouch, right? So when you're using appraisal or when you're using performance evaluation and you're going, I'm going to this race to do this, win, podium, PR, certain time, right? It's all like verdict and outcome based. If it's causing you too much pre-race anxiety, too high level of arousal, you've got a certain level of arousal that you want to be. When I mean arousal, I mean your state, your emotional state that you want to race in, your ideal competitive mindset. If it's taking you too far off that scale, then you can dial it back by saying, I've done all this training. I'm here to test my training, see what I'm capable of, and get some feedback for the future. Yeah. All right, next one. What if I fail? Again, fail. So again, it's like you're being measured up against this visible thing that you've decided, or this number that you've decided. And again, we're reframing failure into learning. So what if I learn something that makes me stronger for next time? Failure is feedback. Probably doesn't sit with a lot of people, but if you don't have a shot at that race, then you're stopping yourself from having the opportunity for learning. Or if you don't, like if what I mean by if you don't have a shot at the race, if you play it safe, or if you don't even do the race, then you're robbing yourself of the opportunity for growth. All right, stay with me, still going. I'll never get another PB, right? Let's shift that to I'm finding opportunities to get faster, right? Every run is data for my next PB. So instead of trying to tell yourself that you're not getting faster, you're becoming a more wiser runner to say, you know what, maybe I'm holding back a little bit too much at the start. And that's where I'm losing time. And you're starting to appraise your running from that scientist perspective and saying, every run is data, every run is feedback. So I can PB again in the future in a different way than I thought I had to. Yeah. All right, cool. There's a couple more. I'm going to leave those ones out. Let's go to some really quick ones you can do. So you're on the run, a thought comes up, let's reframe it. I'm struggling to I'm growing. I'm battling to I'm getting fitter. Now, this is really important. I'm just going to pause here. When you're telling yourself that you're hurting, or you've gone too fast, or you're struggling, or you're battling, all these kind of things, the reframe is this is what I'm here for. I'm here to get fitter. Right now I'm getting fitter. This is what it feels like. It sucks. Tonight when I sleep, tomorrow I'm adapting, and then I'm going to be fitter on the back of it, right? You've got to build the belief that I have this image that your training is a brick wall, and every session is just another brick in the wall. And that's all it is. And that leads me to think it's not just the session, it's the consistency of these sessions. And so if I'm battling in one session or it doesn't go the way that I want, it's still a brick in the wall, and I'm going to live to fight another day. Next one. There's so far to go, right? So you're out there, you're starting to feel a pinch a little bit, and you're thinking, oh, gee, I've still got a long way to go. We've got to take the mind out of the future. One step at a time. Start to count. I'm just going to run this minute. I'm just going to run this step. Just going to run this lap. I'm just going to run to that lamppost. I'm just going to run to that fence line. I'm just going to run to that where the road ends, right? And break it down. The chimp wants to perceive danger. One way to perceive danger is I can't maintain this for that long. So bring the chimp back and say, it's okay, chimp. All we're doing is running this step, this lap, this moment. I'm bored. I'm bored. So from I'm bored to I'm building the base. I'm building my base. Boring running, building mitochondria, building aerobic capacity. Yeah. It's too hard. This is the level I need to grow. This is where I'm pushing my edge, right? All right. We've got through a whole bunch of reframes. Okay, I've got a little scenario, but I think we've kind of covered it. But just imagine you are at like 32 Ks into your marathon, right? Or you're at that 4K point, or you're doing even your 1K effort, and you look down and you're at 800 meters or something, right? And the chimp's starting to take over. The legs are heavy, the head's starting to go, oh, I can't maintain this. Let's just get this right now. I'm not done. And if you want to say to yourself, I will not quit now, and just focus on, I'm just going to do this next minute, right? I'm just going to do this next step. And what you're doing is taking back agency, taking back control to the process of what you're doing, and just staying where you are. That's one way of doing it. Again, you can shift your external focus away from it, but that's a different mindset technique. What we're going to do is reframe it by saying, yes, it's hurting. Good. That's what I'm here for. Stay in the step. And again, now that exhausted becomes, I'm feeling the effort. That's my training happening. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to drop my shoulders. And remember, training is effort now, adaptation later on. All right. I hope this has helped you in some way. A challenge Take 1, 2, 3 of these statements, use them for the week. And if you haven't quite found a statement that lands with you, think about whatever sentence you say, take this self-coaching with you. What's a different way of looking at this? What's the opposite frame I can look at this to give me more choice, right? So that the negative statement's going to give you the perception that it's out of your hand, that you've hit your limit, that you can't maintain it, that it sucks, that you're done, and that you're game over. But you need to take back control with reframing. How can I own this? Or how can I change this to give me more choice? And maybe take that framing with you for the statement that you're saying and come up with your own reframes. They're the most powerful ones, the ones that you come up with yourself. All right, we have come to the end of our reframing episode. I hope you got something out of it. Quick summary. Going back to Professor Steven Peters' three-part brain model: chimp at the bottom, emotion, impulsivity, reaction, all focused on survival and getting out of any form of danger is 10 out of 10 danger. Let's get away from it, including feeling tired, hurting, struggling on a run. Then the human brain, which is our prefrontal cortex, our thinking cap, our executive functioning, where we make decisions and where we can take back control of our life, not panic, not get over emotional, but actually deal with the things that we're doing. And then the computer brain, which is the automated system of our habits, our, for example, running stride and our memories there. So that's the model. Our research study, which said when we use reappraisal, we're getting out of our chimp brain and into our prefrontal cortex. We're taking back agency, taking back control, taking back ownership, and empowering ourselves. In the meantime, we are lowering our rate of perceived exertion, which is how hard we feel we're working. We are increasing our motivation because we feel like we're in control. Going back to those states, flow state is the optimum level we're going for. No thinking. Sri Chinmoy, the incredible spiritual teacher, author, poet, musician, and incredible teacher, one of his mantras was no mind, no mind, no mind, no mind. And so this is mindset for runners, but ultimately what we're looking for is ways to take our minds offline so that we can run in that flow state, that connected state in our body. We use our mindset when things to control that and to take back control and take back agency. So then we went to study a whole bunch of reframes that I listed that you can take, 1 or 2 or 3. So take them this week, try them on. I would love to hear the ones that work for you, or if you have any that you use already that have really helped. If you're in our community, please share them in the community feed so we can all learn from each other. And if not, you can always email me or get in touch on Instagram. I will put the research study in the show notes so you can have a look at it yourself. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Or if you're watching on YouTube, we're on YouTube now. Special mention to all our new listeners in the US. Welcome. So wonderful to have you. There's a huge back catalog of episodes you can go back through and get a whole bunch of stuff to help you with the running. Till next time, have a great run, enjoy reframing, and think about how you can take back control of those statements to enjoy your running more and increase your performance. Till next time, see you then.